Welcome back guys, this is Shrikant. Today we are going to learn how to connect SQL Server with a .NET. So we are going to learn now how we can do program with the .NET and how we can use SQL Server as a backend to connect to .NET. Great. A lot of my friends requested me to upload a video which will demonstrate how to connect SQL Server with the .NET. So for their sake, I'm going to upload a video for them. Right. So which tools we do require for creating our first project in .NET. So basically we do need two things. The first one is SSMS tool, that is SQL Server Management tool. Another is Visual Studio, correct, ID. So we need this ID. This is ID and this is also ID. Right, great. First, okay, so next in this one I'm going to show you everything from scratch. That is, in SSMS tool I'm going to show you how to create a first empty database. There will add some empty table and there will load some data in it, right? Then we'll move to the .NET. So for that, just go to your SSMS tool, just type SSMS and it will open the SSMS, that is SQL Server Management tool, right? So go to your server section, then type your server address, then go to connect. See, server name I have tried because I'm using my local system, so I don't need to give the server name. It will use the default one. I can also connect it through the dot, because if I'll pass here dot, it will use the system server name as a server name. Great. So you can see here I'm connected to the server, and if I'll click on a databases, you can see here lot of databases. So I'm not going to use any database which is already created. I'm going to create a fresh database. So right click on a databases, then click on a database. Once all the processing has been done, the pop-up will come, and if you'll offset carefully, it is showing you the new database as a heading. So in this one we can create the new database. Just give the name for the database. I'm giving it as my first project, my first DB. Owner is DB. You can give it to SA or anything, but right now we don't require to give the owner name, right? Then two files will automatically be created if we'll create the fresh database. This is the first file, which is the primary file, and another file is a log file. So the first row file is called as the MDF file, another file that is a log file, that is called as LDF, log data file, and master data file. Great. Then my first DB will be created when I'll click on OK. If you'll see here, it's executing, and if you'll come down, you will see there my first DB has been added to the database list. So sometimes what happens, sometimes we won't see the database which we have just created. So in that case, you need to right click on databases, go to the refresh and click on it. When you click on refresh, all the databases will be sorted accordingly and you will see the database name. So my first DB we just have created, right? So my first DB. Then if I'll go to the data table section, I can see here there is no table. So right click on a table, go and select on a new table. You can create a table two way. One is from the GUI. I'm going to show you from the GUI. Another way is from the SQL command. So now this is just a test table, so this project, so I'm trying to make it through the GUI. So I'm making it as ID as a int. Next is a name. Name should be nvarchar of 100. nvarchar is a character data type which store the alphanumeric values, right? N4 storing the variable one. So 100 name. So I'm going to create a table which will be having a 2 column, and I'm naming it as the EMP data table. So EMP data table is the name of my table, and if I'll save it, the table will be created. How I can see the table has been created or not? Just go to the table, go to the refresh, and when you refresh it, you will see this table has been created. And if you go to the column section, you will see 2 new column has been added to it. And then now what will you do? You go to the select top 100 rows. When you go to the select top 100 rows, you will see there is nothing because we haven't added anything. So there is no data in the table, so we won't get any record from this query. So what you need to do, so we need to add some data in it. So there are two ways we can load the data into the system. One is from the GUI, another is from the query, right? So what you need to do, you need to edit top 200 rows. This is a way where we can load the data from GUI. I'm giving as ID as a 1, name as a Shrikant, then ID as a 2, name as a Rohit, 3 Prashant. So I have a 3 employee whose ID is 1, 2, 3 and names are Shrikant, Rohit and Prashant. These 3 are the employee data which I have in EMP data table. So if I'll come back to this tab, and if I go to my respective DB, my first DB, and if I'll execute this query, what will I see? Now I'll see 3 records are output of my query, and I can see here this 1 is Shrikant, 2 is Rohit and 3 is Prashant. These are the 3 rows which just returned from the query. Now what we have basically, we have a table which name is EMP data table, which has a 3 record, which has a 3 entry. Now database side, my work is done. Next we are moving to now .NET. Now what I'm going to show you there, I'm going to create one simple grid view, and there I'm binding this data to the grid view. So for that, just go to the Visual Studio. This is my Visual Studio project. You guys know it how to open it. Just go to your search panel, type Visual Studio, and you need to have Visual Studio be installed. If you have installed, then you will see Visual Studio in the list. Just click on it. When you click on a Visual Studio, the Visual Studio ID will look like this, right? So these are different menus we have: view, edit, file. So we are going to create a new fresh project. So what we need to go to the new, then we need to go to the project or website. Now we are going to create a website, ASP.NET website. So you need to click on a website. It will again ask you a lot of things like which project do you want to create, ASP.NET empty or the ASP.NET or Razor, that is a music one. But I'm trying to create as simple as, so I'm creating Visual C# empty website. I'm naming it as a website 1 and click on OK. When I click on OK, this ASP.NET empty website will be added to the project, right? So this website 1 is my project, and this project will be the part of a solution, you can see. So you may have a question when you will start programming in the C# that can I add multiple project into one solution? Yes, you can add a multiple project in a solution. Solution is something like, it's a container which contain the project, right? And the project is something which contain our files, our data in the sense the code files, right? So go to the view, then solution explorer. When you click on a solution explorer, you will see 2 things. You will see the website has been created under a solution website 1 because we have changed the name of a solution, so it has taken the default name, that's a website 1. It has only a file called as a web config file, right? That's a fine. Now what we need to do, we need to add a page to the website. So click on add, then go to the add new item. When we'll click on add new item, it will show you a lot of things. So for testing purpose, I'm just adding a HTML page to show you how to run a program in a .NET. Okay, so just now we have added the HTML file. So this is my HTML file. I can write, hi Shrikant, this is your first hi. right? So we just added the HTML file. Now we want to run it. How we can run it? Just right click on it and view in a browser. We set it to Google Chrome as our default one. Now you can see this page will be open in a Google Chrome. It's opening and there we'll see the message, hi Shrikant, this is your first file, right? Now we are going to add the ASP.NET web page. Then go to the website, right click on it and then go to the add, then go to the new item. When we'll click on the new item, we'll see the pop-up. Here we'll have a lot of different file types, so we'll talk about those files if we need it in future, but right now we just want to talk about more regarding the web form. So this is a web form which is my first form, so I'm making as a default. If I do I'll have the master page. I might have check the select master page, but right now I don't have the master page, so I'm not checking it. Click on add. When you will click on add, the web page will be added to the project. We can see it here under the website section, right? So you can see here the default.aspx is a page which is added just now. Okay, click on it. Now here few things you can see. This is a HTML section and this one is the page section. So it will tell you that it has a code file and which is a default.aspx.cs. So default.aspx is a page, it's a code file where you can write your code, and underscore default is a class which inherited basically. So whatever you will write into this class, those methods, those objects will be accessible both the pages, right? So if you will add a control into the ASPX, you can access that control to the C#, right? And if you have the method in a .c#.cs file, you can access that method into ASPX through ampersand symbol. Great. So this is my first page. Great. Now I'm going to show you how to bind the SQL data, that is table data, with a ASP.NET. What you need to do, you need to go to the toolbox section. Okay, so very important thing here I want to talk here is it has a few sections for the page. You can see here the first section is a view, another section is a design view. It's taking time to load. Let's wait to load it. Okay, now here three things, right? The first is design. So when you click on the design section, you will see the design view of a page. So what will be look like when you run the page, so that things will be shown in the design section. Then split, you can side by side do coding. Up top section you can see the code, bottom section you can see the design. Then source is purely seen the source code. So source will show you as a source, the design will show the only design section, split will show you both the views side by side. So what we need to do here, we need to add one data binding control here. So data binding control we have is a GridView. So go to the section and search for the GridView, right? So here you will see the GridView. Also you can type here GridView, you will see the GridView. So drag and drop this control here. Once you'll drop this control on the page, you will see the syntax like this. So GridView is a control which is in ASPX library. So ASPX GridView is a GridView control of a .NET which uses for binding the data, right? So this is my ID GridView1 and the run at a server. Now if I'll go to the design section, I will see some section, some columns, column 1, column 2, 3, right? And again if I'll go back to the default one and right click on it and view in a browser. Click on view on a browser. When I click on it, I will see nothing on the page. Or will we see something? Let's check it out. No, we are not seeing anything, right? It means we are not seeing anything, right? Because we haven't added anything so far. So what we need to do? So for that, we need to create a connection to the database. So how we can do it? So for that, the simplest way, which I think, is go to the data server explorer, then go to the data connection, then click on a connect, and it will ask you to connect to the server. So if you know the name of a server, just type it there, or if you don't know, then just press the dot if you have the local server installed on system. Then authentication, we'll see the SQL authentication. I have SA and 123 as a password. This is my system password. If everything is correct, then it will connect to the database, to the server basically, and it will check out your DB. We had created the database. What was that? It was my test DB, my first DB, right? So I'm seeing it here. Then click on a test connection. If all steps are correct, then it will show you the succeeded message, right? Okay, then click on a OK. When you click on a OK, that connection will be added here. You can see here third extra connection has been added here. So what you need to do, you need to right click on it, go to the property section, and here you will see the connection string. So this connection string you need to copy. Now what you need to do, now you need to connect, you need to add some libraries. You need to add some namespaces, basically system.data. This is a library, this is a namespace which has the libraries for data binding, data table, data rows, all those things are there. Then also we need to create some connection, so we should have the configuration. Great. Now what are we going to do? We are going to create a function, simple function, public void get data. Now we have a string, so just come here and name it as a connection and pass it here. Password, you can see it is in the encrypted one, so give the right password, which is 123. I'm just giving the right data, 123. Check that one. User ID is this one, then my first database, then initial database, this one. And now you can see the dot means my local database. Now you need to create some connection, so we need to create first connection object. So you need to have the connection libraries. Again we need to add some libraries here, so it is in the some libraries, so using system.sql client, we need to add the libraries here, SQL client. This is a one-time activity. Basically, create a connection, SQL connection. Now cn is equal to new SQL connection, right? And give some data to it. Connection string, which is con. Now what we need to do, we need to create some SQL Data Adapter. Now here there are a few steps. First time it is quite difficult to remember, but if you'll see carefully, second time onward it will be very easy. It has some override methods. Select command and the connection string. So here I'm going to give my command, and here I'm giving my connection object. My query is this one. Then we need to load this data into dataset ds is equal to we need to pass the data set. Data set is something which store the tables in it, right? So first thing we need to create we need to open the connection here. We open the connection, we created a connection, then we created the data set. Now this data set will be having the multiple table, but now we just have a single table. So when we'll pass this ds to the data adapter, it will load the data into the ds1. So the next thing we need to add here GridView, then dot, then it has two things we need to follow. One is data source, we need to specify data source. My data source is ds. Then we need to bind this data grid, data bind. Then we need to open the we need to close the connection, cm.close. Now we need to save it, we need to call this into this one. Now we need to run this program. When we run this program, let's see what happened, which error we get. Or first, when you click on a run, it will build the project. When everything will be okay, everything will be run successfully, then it will move to the browser section if there is no error. Now so far we don't have error. Now it will try to load the data from the SQL Server. Once all the things will happen, it will take a data to the data source. From the data source, it will bind the data to the GridView. Let's wait. Now you can see here ID, name, Shrikant, Rohit, Prashant. These are the three records we had added to the data table right here. What are we going to do? We are trying to add dynamically another entry named as Aziz, right? Okay, and we are executing this data. Great. Now and again come back to the website. Now here we'll see we haven't changed anything, right, on the front end. And when I refresh this page, I will see another entry which we just added is added here. Now again, what are we going to do? We are going to delete two record from this table in a SQL Server. Delete it. We have deleted it. Now we are going to execute this. Now we are seeing only two record. Again, go back to your website and refresh the website. You will only see here two record. Now you can see this is the simplest and easiest explanation I can tell you that how to connect the C# with the SQL Server. And trust me, it's really very easy to interact with the SQL Server through the .NET. I hope you guys understood and enjoyed our first video regarding how to connect the C# with the SQL Server. In coming days, we are going to upload more interesting videos regarding the C# and the SQL Server interaction. The most important video which I'm going to upload in coming days is SQL injection. In SQL injection, I will show you practically how do the SQL injection happen and how we can avoid the SQL injection through the .NET and the SQL Server. Hope you guys enjoyed a lot, and if you guys enjoyed and like our video, please don't forget to subscribe, and if possible it will be very helpful for us to share our video with your friends or your group, so that those are in a search of the SQL or the .NET knowledge, they will also get the knowledge about this. Thanks for watching and have a great day.